you. I'm really, really excited to be here. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I'm actually not going to talk about Indiegogo today because I'm going to put on my entrepreneur hat, and I want to talk to you guys as founders to founders. Because I've learned a lot in the last 10 plus years trying to birth this company. And if I can just share a couple insights with you to help set you guys up for a little more success, that'll actually make my day. So I'm going to start with a question. Why are you guys here today? Can I get a show of hands to learn who's here because they want to learn how to start a business? I just want to set expectations. Yep, all right. Who's here because they want to find out the meaning of life? All right, nice. Well, you're probably thinking that this is a conference to learn how to start a business, but I have a kind of a secret for you. No one can really teach you how to do that. That's only you who can really figure that out, and the way you're going to figure it out is actually by doing it. But what I can help you with is actually the second question. And I want to reframe the question I just asked again. If you were to ask yourself, why do you want to start a business, for all those folks who raised their hands in the first one, what would you say? I would argue that the reason you're sitting in this room today and the reason you want to start a business is because you actually want to do something meaningful in your life. You want to create something meaningful for others, for yourself, and you want to live a life of meaning. And so with that, I actually think you're quite set up for success because that's a cornerstone to actually building a great company, knowing what matters to you. So congratulations. And if you raised your hand thinking you want to start a business because there's this huge opportunity, you want to just take advantage of it, you want to go make a lot of money, it's too awesome to not move forward with it, I urge you to stop right now because you're probably going to fail. And you're going to fail miserably. Because the thing that matters the most in setting yourself up for success and starting a company is your why. It's why you're doing what you're doing is more important than what you're doing. It's why you're solving the problem that you're solving that is going to be far more important in determining your success than what problem you're actually solving. So it's the why that matters, not the what. Why does the why matter so much? Well, the first big reason is entrepreneurship is freaking hard. If you're not completely irrationally obsessed with fixing a problem, you're going to quit. Because there's too many unknowns. The best analogy for me as to what entrepreneurship was actually traveling in a third world country. Anybody traveled in a third world country before? Yes, so you know what I'm talking about. Pretty much everything doesn't go as planned. Everything takes a lot longer. For me, I actually went to Indonesia right out of college thinking, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to learn about a culture. I'm going to meet all these people. It's going to be this amazing experience. I'm going to remember it for life. Was it that? Absolutely. It was amazing. Was it easy? Hell no. I think in the course of a couple weeks, I took a bus ride that was supposed to go 200 miles. It took 44 hours. In the process, we ran a person off the road, broke down where the driver had to hitchhike across Indonesia to get new parts to come back to fix it. I got ripped off by cops. I was 3 days late meeting a friend of mine in a tiny town in Indonesia, only to which the only way I could actually find her is I had to hire a local to help me literally scour the city to go find my friend. I got my bag stolen, I got, like I said, ripped off by the cops, and I think I even got propositioned by drug dealers. All in the course of 2 weeks. Did I have an amazing time? Absolutely. Was it hell? Absolutely. That's entrepreneurship. And for us, that's exactly what happened. So as you can see here, on the top was Indiegogo's plan, and on the bottom was Indiegogo's reality. We launched back in January of 2008 with the plan of raising money a few months later so that we could grow in 2009 and launch all these currencies and languages all across the world in 2010. Notice, as soon as we launched, the market crashed. The market was still in the tank in 2009. We ended up having to expand beyond film before we had an ounce of money. We had to grow no matter what. Basically, everything was reversed. Everything took longer. Everything was kind of a disaster. But we ended up raising the money 3 years later. It's kind of like the 44-hour bus ride. 3 years later is when we finally raised our money. Then we started growing. You could argue we probably didn't even need the money at that point. But we kept going, and finally we were on track. So these are two of my colleagues. Eric is my co-founder, and Erica is one of our first employees. There was a great moment when Erica actually turned to Eric in 2011 and said, Jesus Christ, guys, what the hell were you thinking? Like, why did you keep going for 3 freaking years? with nothing, when nothing was going awry. And Eric said, well, we were passionate about what we were doing despite reason. So that's what I'm here to talk to you today. It's about finding what matters to you. We were passionate about fixing this problem of finance, irrationally so. From the outside, everybody thought we were crazy. From the inside, it made so much sense for us, and we just had to see it through until it actually happened. I'm not going to talk to you about how to start a business. What I am going to talk to you about is how to find meaning in your life and how to use that to actually go build a great business. So who here has an idea that they're working on? Awesome. Who here is looking for an idea to start a business? Okay. Well, I will tell you, stop looking, because you're not going to find it. Because what matters to you is in you. And it makes itself apparent every time you find yourself pissed off, every time you find yourself super excited, it makes itself clear to you. And so what you need to do is just start noticing. Start noticing when you get excited. Start noticing when you get pissed off. For me, it took many years to actually notice what was pissing me off. It started when I was working on Wall Street in finance, and I got invited to this event called Where Hollywood Meets Wall Street. I was thinking, oh, this will be a cool event. I'll get to see how these power brokers of Hollywood talk to these power brokers of Wall Street. Really, really interesting. Well, it was completely not that at all. It was actually a sea of starving artists. All hoping to meet their next angel. And because I was there representing a bank, I was clearly the most popular girl at the party. So I thought it was going to be a fly on the wall. It was not that at all. But it wasn't until 2 days later when I received a script from one of the elderly filmmakers that I had met that night that said, it was great to meet you. I look forward to financing my next film. And it's at that moment that my heart sank. Because here was a man full of a lifetime of experience with the brilliant ideas, begging me, someone with no experience, for money, only because I worked at a bank. So after a phone call to my mother, because that's what a young girl does when she's totally distraught about how unfair the world is, I'm crying and all this kind of stuff, she finally let me finish talking, and she said, well, if you're so pissed off about it, Dee, go do something about it. So I did. I started working with some of these filmmakers and theater producers on the side, nights and weekends, trying to help them raise money the old-fashioned way. And I actually had a culminating moment when I was producing an Arthur Miller play that he had given us permission to do, where the whole goal of the event was to stage this one-night event where I'd pack a house like this with an audience, I get volunteer actors to volunteer their time, and I get investors there to witness the whole thing, so at the end of the night, they'd be so impressed that they write a check and we turn it into a full-blown production. Well, everything went perfect, except that last bit, when the investors said, congratulations, that was an amazing event, we're not investing, good luck. And at that moment, I realized what was broken, that finance was broken. And if the old elderly man, had taught me that it was broken, it was this experience that showed me how it was broken. It was broken because the people who wanted the idea to come to life the most, the actors and the audience, didn't actually have the power to make it happen. And so it was broken because it was completely dependent upon these third-party gatekeepers to determine the success of something getting off the ground. And so it was in that moment, though, that I noticed myself incredibly pissed off. And I was asking myself, why? Like, why am I so pissed off? Well, it's because when I grew up a daughter of 2 small business owners who I watched for 30-plus years struggle to get their idea off the ground. And it pissed me off because they were doing everything right. They were growing, they were loyal to their employees, they were treating their customers really well, but there was a slow growth brick-and-mortar business that no one wanted to finance. And because of that, they were locked out of traditional finance. And so, looking back, I look at my whole life, I'm like, well, obviously I was on this path to start Indiegogo from very early in my life, but it wasn't until I actually noticed what pissed me off at my core did I realize what I had to do. So I paid attention and I started Indiegogo. And for those of you who have ideas, those of you who don't have ideas, stop looking and start noticing. And for those of you who do have ideas, I challenge you to make sure that your heart and your mind are aligned, and that you're doing it for the right reason. Because if you get far along and they're not aligned, if you aren't doing it for a really meaningful reason, something that matters to you at your core of core, heart, or your core of core, you will fail. And so a great way to make sure that there's alignment is do the 5 whys exercise. This is actually an exercise I learned in business school. It's actually great. And what it is, all you do is keep asking yourself why again and again, kind of like a 2-year-old does when they don't understand the world. And you keep asking yourself until you can't answer logically, until you bump up into emotional and irrationality. Because then you know you've articulated the root of why you're doing what you're doing. For me, I started with this. Why Indiegogo? Well, I wanted to democratize fundraising. So why do I want to democratize fundraising? It's because finance is broken and it's rigged by gatekeepers. It needs to be changed. Well, why are gatekeepers not good? Well, they don't allow for an equal opportunity, obviously. Well, why is equal opportunity important? Because life should be fair. Come on, guys. This is me having a conversation with myself, just so you know, going back and forth. Okay, so why should life be fair? And then I say, really? Why do you love your kids? You just do. Life should be fair. That's where I hit into my kind of irrational, emotional belief. It's a core belief. And so that's what your why is. It's this core belief that doesn't change. It's your foundation. It's going to be your guide and light. And if you get in touch with that, you can actually not just make it through entrepreneurship, which is definitely hard, but you can actually set yourself up for success. And maybe it's no guarantee, but actually having a good chance of actually building a real company. So what does your why do? It actually makes the rest of things, all the stuff we've been learning today, all the stuff of how to pivot and iterate and lean startup and all that kind of stuff, it actually makes it pretty straightforward. If you get clear with your why, you actually find your partners, and that's what I did. I got really clear about what I was doing, and I quit finance, I went to business school, and all I did was talk about how I wanted to change finance. And so I actually didn't have to find my partners found me, because they themselves were connected with how screwed up finance was, and were truly internally pissed off about it as well. Eric, my first co-founder, he had been trying to help raise money for theater companies in Chicago for years and failing. And Slava, my other co-founder, his father had died of cancer when he was a young boy, and he never really dealt with it. And so his only way of dealing with it was to start a charity event to raise money for cancer research. And he started doing, he was using all the tools at his fingertips, like MySpace and email at the time, because this was back in 2005. And he was totally, totally frustrated. So when I went to business school and I was just, touting this is the problem I want to solve, they showed up, and then they kept showing up. Eric didn't get a lick of school credit for working on anything that was Indiegogo related, but he kept showing up and helping. Slava was living in New York every weekend. He kept flying to San Francisco, which is where I was, to help start this business. So that when you're honest about why you're doing what you're doing, you actually bump into the people, and the people that are honest about why they want to fix the same problem, you find each other, and it's actually not a search that you have to go do. Your why also gets your ego out of the way. So I had this idea that I wanted to start an offline film or an offline media fund. That was going to be my solution to fix this problem about how finance is so broken. But it's when I met my co-founders, and we were having a conversation at the Golden Gate Bridge. It really happened this way. It's kind of crazy. And Slava's like, why the hell did you go to business school? And I said, well, I want to fix this problem. I want to democratize funding. He said, well, why don't you use the internet? I mean, that's the most democratic tool out there. And at that moment, I knew he was right. And because I was connected to why I was working on this idea, because I was connected to how passionate I was about fixing finance, I didn't get hung up on the solution. And it actually allowed us to pivot. I didn't get hung up on the fact that I'd been working on this other idea for so many years, and my ego was totally attached. I let it go, and we pivoted, and we kept going. And what we saw was that in a world where anybody could post a video to YouTube, anybody could share information on Twitter, anybody could buy anything or sell anything to anybody on eBay, we wondered, well, if you can do all that, why can't you fund anything? Why can't you fund what matters to you? So because I was connected to the why, we actually were able to see that, and that's when we started Indiegogo. Also, because of the why, it actually helped articulate our purpose. And our purpose is the vision and the guiding light that you need that will answer all questions about and help you answer all decisions, because you will make a million of them when you're starting a company. And for us, it helped us articulate that because finance was broken and because it was riddled with gatekeepers, what we cared about doing was creating a way to empower people to fund what mattered to them. And that was going to be our purpose. And with our why and our purpose, that actually then helped us clarify our values. And now I know this is all soft and touchy-feely stuff, but I promise you, this stuff that we did is the #1 reason why I'm still standing up here today. All the other stuff, the product, the features, the A/B testing, all that stuff comes naturally and you still got to do it, but that's all learnable and it's all fixable if you do it wrong. If you don't do this right, you set yourself up for failure. So this, with our why and our purpose, we actually had been plugging along, and we finally were able to raise a round of capital in March of 2011. And at that moment, I had this freak out moment. I was like, oh my God, we have to hire people. I had learned in business school that that the #1 reason why companies fail is because you hire the wrong people. And I had also learned that what you want is a diversity of talent, a diversity of skill sets, a diversity of pretty much everything, but what you don't want diversity on is your values, because your values are the behaviors that people exhibit day in and day out, naturally and organically. And so with our why and our purpose, we set out to get really honest about what our behaviors were, what are the values that we did. And so we did this awesome exercise, which I totally recommend everybody do. And it was really fun because it was fun to watch my co-founders who hate to draw. And what I did is I made everybody grab a sheet of paper, make 6 boxes on it, and at the top of it I said, I come to work every day because. Or I come to work at Indiegogo every day because, and fill in the blank. And over 5 minutes, they drew pictures, and then we shared it with each other. And what became clear was that there was actually 4 themes that were consistent across all of us for why we came to work every day. The first was we wanted to trump the status quo. We didn't care that the finance institution was old and curmudgeon and hadn't been changed or innovated on in hundreds of years. We didn't care. We just knew that if we wanted to make finance fair and efficient once and for all, we had to change it. So we had to be fearless. The second that became clear is that we all came to work because we wanted to bring our whole selves to work. We didn't want to be anybody else. We didn't want to put on a suit, or if you like suits, we didn't want to put on our jeans and t-shirt. We wanted to bring our whole self to work because that's what mattered to us. We also learned that we wanted to work with people who were passionate about helping others too. So we wanted to collaborate and work with like-minded people. And we also learned that we're all there together because we had the same why, which is we wanted to empower people to fund what mattered to them. We wanted to fix finance. And so our values were then, with the purpose and the why, literally became the foundation for everything else. And everything else almost became easy, because what the 3 of those did together is it actually enabled us to hire amazing people. And if you want to grow, you can't do it just you and your co-founders. If you actually want to change the world, you need to hire amazing people to help you grow your company to go do that. And amazing people, the reason they're amazing is because they're amazing. I know that. And they have choice. They don't have to go anywhere. They can go wherever they want. And so if they're people who wake up in the morning and are clear with themselves about why they do what they do, they will come find you. So because of our clarifying our why and our purpose, we actually attracted absolutely amazing people who exhibited face day in and day out. It also determined our strategy. I know this is kind of a jump, but because we were so clear about why we were doing this, it became very clear very early that Indiegogo needed to be a gatekeeper-free and open platform, which today makes us unique and different from anybody else out there. And what I mean by that is because we wanted to fix finance and empower people to fund what mattered to them, we knew we couldn't have an application process. We couldn't decide who could come onto our site and who didn't, because if we did that, we'd just become another gatekeeper, and we'd become the problem that we were trying to solve. So we built a system that was open, which is hard, because there's people who potentially want to use your site in a way that it wasn't intended, so you have to build the back-end fraud infrastructure and all that stuff. And you had to build a merit-based system so that the people that do rise to the top rise based on their own quality and based on their own heart and hustle. So we developed the Goga Factor, which is proprietary algorithm. So all of, again, our whole strategy about what type of company and where we're going, determined by the why. It also determined our product. So if we really wanted to empower people around the world to fund what mattered to them, we had to be available across the world. So we had to build the global payment system from day one. We had to build the fraud infrastructure from day one. And we had to build in the currencies and the languages, which it's all coming more. We have three languages now. We've got 4 currencies, including the Canadian dollar and French. And we had to... What was really crazy is that in clarifying all of this, it actually became clear who our customer was. And this was a surprise to me. Because if I look at our customers and I look at us, we're the same people. Our customers are face. Our customers are people who are fearless. They're putting their ideas out there because they want to bring their ideas to life. They're authentic. They have to be themselves. We know that campaigns with a video of people in it raise on average 114% more than campaigns that don't. They have to be collaborative. We know that campaigns that involve team members raise on average 80% more than campaigns that don't. And they have to be empowering. I mean, one of the greatest examples is Karen Klein, which is a Canadian campaign. There is a customer who saw a woman get bullied on a bus. And he was so pissed off about this video that he saw. He didn't even know the person. He didn't know this woman. He was so pissed off about that, he said, I had to do something. So he was fearless. And he went on Indiegogo. He created a campaign to raise $5,000 from people that don't know her to send her on vacation, because that was the right thing to do. A few weeks later, he had raised over $700,000 from 60 countries all across the world. That was a Canadian who did that. And that was the Karen Klein Bus Monitor campaign. Talk about empowerment. So our customers, in a way, became exactly who we were, which I wouldn't have ever predicted that. So your why basically allows you to determine who you are, what your purpose is, what your values are. And with those two things never change, no matter what type of company you are. It's your guiding light of your purpose and your values that never change. It's everything in between, your product, your features, your offerings, all that stuff changes. But that actually doesn't matter so much, because if you've got the top and the bottom, all that middle stuff, you can figure that out. So I'd just like to leave you with a video that I think you should all go watch. It's a video by Simon Sinek on leadership. It's a TED talk that he did. So if you Google Simon Sinek TED, you'll find it. And he actually did some research, and he found that the part of the brain that makes decisions is actually the same part of the brain where your emotions are housed, and actually the part of the brain that's logical, that does all the analysis, is not the same part of the brain that you make decisions based on. So really, where you make decisions from happen in an emotional part of the brain. So what the big aha in all that is that what he realized is that when people use a product, they don't buy what you're doing, they buy why you do it. And so if you need another reason to be clear about why your why is important, it not just makes getting through entrepreneurship, which is a hard process, possible. And it doesn't just set you up for success so that even the possibility of building a company is possible. But it actually allows you not just to bring meaning into your life and to do what matters to you, but it actually allows you to create a company that matters to other people too. And it's not just customers, but it's employees too. People don't join companies because of what you do. They join companies because of why you do it. So watch the video. It's pretty powerful. And for us at Indiegogo, the future, the sky's the limit. We're going in a lot of different directions. And I can't really answer like what's exactly next and what's going to happen 2 months from now, 3 months from now, or a year from now. But all I know is that if we keep paying attention to our why and why we're up here, we'll find our way. So thanks.